Okay, now we're live. Go ahead, Dave. Take it.
Hey, NFL and Falcons fans. Welcome to another episode of NFL Jocks and Pigskins with Tom Pollen. I'm Dave Holcomb. Apologies for being a little bit late. We've added a third dog to our family, so I've been trying to just get everyone situated before we go live here on the show. Two of them have finally settled down, but the third one is still walking around a little bit. But we're ready to roll here. All Falcons and NFL news today. More quarterback talk. That's just, the in thing nowadays. And the latest thing is with Kyler Murray and his contract situation. And it was reported this week by Tom Pelissaro. Apologies if I mispronounced his name. But an NFL Network reporter that the Cardinals have not offered a contract to Kyler Murray yet. I always find it interesting, the breaking news of something that's not happened. So the fallout from that, breaking news of something not happening is what team could possibly be interested in trading for Kyler Murray if he hits the trade market. The Cardinals have said, no, not going to get traded, but that's not going to stop the rumor mill. And we will be talking about what the Falcons might need to give up to get Kyler Murray, and if that's a suitable option for them, and whether they should consider doing that.
All right, we need the rumor mill right now. We're in a slightly slow time, so let's crank up those rumors. Fans, you got any rumors? Put them in the comment section, and we will get to them. We'll shoot them down one at a time if you want, but go ahead and load those rumors. So. Oh, I got one question for our fans, though, before we get started on Kyler Murray and all the fun stuff that's going on there. The United States Football League starts tonight. Who's your team? Who's your team? Come on, guys. Who's your team?
Well, Atlanta has a team, right?
No, Atlanta does not have a team.
Oh, okay.
That's why I say who's team? We got the New Jersey Generals, Birmingham Stallions, Houston Gamblers, Michigan Panthers, Philadelphia Stars, New Orleans Breakers, Tampa Bay Bandits, and Pittsburgh Maulers. We got two cities of the four NFC South cities participating in the USFL. But no Atlanta.
Yeah. My guess would be Birmingham. That's not that far away, and they're not rivals, in another sport. So
right. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So we got the Birmingham Stallions. They're going to be opening up tonight on NBC, Fox Sports. Should be a barn burner, everyone.
Good question, Tom. Yeah, and I want to hear the feedback from our listeners. Pantera is here. He's already commented on Murray, so we'll get to that comment when we kick off the Murray discussion. We're also going to get to some mock drafts. I find that very interesting. We're getting closer to the NFL draft, less than 2 weeks now. And, it's particularly interesting this year because we don't have that top quarterback as has been thoroughly documented. So it seems like maybe there's a consensus top pick, but after that, there's a lot of different opinions on who could be in the top 5 and top 10.
Yeah.
And the Falcons are right there at number 8. I guess this is the case every year, but the experts can't even decide on what position yet for the Falcons to take at number 8. And the positions that I've seen are not positions that I would take if I were the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, I agree with you.
So that will be a good discussion too when we get to some mock drafts, probably in the second half hour of the show.
Absolutely, because I agree with you. I don't like what I've been seeing out of the mock draft so far.
For the Falcons.
What's that?
From a Falcons fan perspective.
From a Falcons fan perspective, I think they're getting it all wrong.
Yes.
So, yeah, definitely. So hang with us and we'll start talking with Kyler Murray and go from there and get, who do you think the Falcons' first draft choice should be? Where do you think they should go? Let's bring the fans into a lot of this show. Give us your opinion, because it's interesting, because a lot of people have opinions. In the media, a lot of people have opinions, but I don't agree with a lot of them.
there's too many people in the media with opinions, but
yes. Yes.
some people forget they're reporters. They're not supposed to be opinion makers.
Right.
Adam Schefter. Adam Schefter.
Good one.
Maybe we'll talk about that too. Did you talk about? I didn't catch last week's show. Did you discuss Dwayne Haskins at all last week?
Yeah, we opened the show with it. It was just, a terrible thing. Just there's just no words for it. See a young life cut short like that. A guy who's trying to put his life back together, and it's still, a tough one to take. So, was down there in Florida looking to get with his Steelers teammates. Sitting down with Mitch Trubisky, and working out with all the guys, and this happens, and it's just devastating. So, we opened with it. It was rough because Mike really, and I really had problems putting words to it because it was just such a shock because it happened that morning.
Yeah. I had a hard time dissecting it, even still now, but definitely within the first couple hours for sure. I brought it up because the Adam Schefter thing where, he interjected his own opinion on how, Dwayne Haskins was viewed as a quarterback and in the NFL. And it just is like, why do you do that? It just seems like all of them do that now, though. It's not just Adam Schefter.
Right.
You get that from Ian Rappaport, probably the other NFL Network guys. And it's just like, I am following you for the news. I mean, if you want to interject what Dwayne Haskins' record was in the NFL and just say a fact about him, fine. But to say, as we all know, he really struggled.
Struggled. Yeah.
Really struggled in an obituary tweet.
Right. Just tell us, send out the news, age, kind of, whatever circumstances, and let everybody process it. We'll go through his career later. Let's just process the fact that the young man's gone.
Yeah, that's a good point. But if you want to put in a fact, fine. Say what his record was.
Right.
Then everybody can see based on that fact that he probably struggled because the record wasn't good. But to just interject his own opinion that he struggled, it was in poor taste. And then he apologized. From what I saw, he apologized, and his apology was in a podcast. And he tweeted the link to the podcast. So to get to the apology, you had to listen to his podcast.
Yeah, you had to listen to the podcast. So that's a way to push your podcast.
Right.
Yeah, love that one too.
Yeah. So I forget what my point was with this before I went on the rant about Adam Schefter. But we're talking Kyler Murray and mock drafts today. And we'll get to some of those reporters maybe and rant more about them based on what they're predicting in those mock drafts. Yeah. But today's show brought to you by Prize Picks. Sign up for the app. Let's see if I can get that banner. Chris is not with us today.
No, he isn't.
I think he's doing wedding stuff.
But
I don't know. He didn't say. He didn't say if he was doing wedding stuff. But that'd be my guess. When you sign up,
talk the room out of it.
No.
Friends don't let friends get married.
Well,
it's his marriage.
That's what I'm saying.
That's right. That's right. He's getting married.
What man in their right would go help plan a different wedding than his own?
Well, that's true. You're right. I know. Hey, it's been a rough week.
So let's sign up for Prize Picks. This is supposed to be Prize Picks this time. Download Prize Picks. One of the best fantasy sports apps out there. When you sign up, use our promo code ASU. You support us. You get a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. So it's a win-win for everybody. And
absolutely. And they got a deal going today. They've given you basically a gimme for your first prop pick today. Joel Embiid only has to score 1 point, and you win that one prop. Now you got to add another prop or two with it.
Right.
But they're giving you that first one as a gimme. So if you sign up, you're going to get Joel Embiid for as long as he scores 1 point. That's one correct. That's the way to go. And you can bet, you can bet on the US. You can do prop picks for the USFL tonight. Do that. They got prop picks for the USFL. They got prop picks for cricket. All right. If you are a cricket fan, Moeen Ali for the Chennai Super Kings, 18 and a half runs. So if you think he's going to score more than 18 and a half runs, go for it. There's another pick for you. Straight from, I'm giving these to you free.
You a cricket expert now.
No, you know something? I never could understand that game. I still don't understand that game.
I can't say I've ever really tried to watch it. I do remember it being on like when I was studying in London for a semester and at the gym, and cricket would be on TV, and it's just then they put up the standings and the teams have like thousands of points. Like,
right.
What is going on in this game? I have no idea what's happening.
Yeah. When I went down to the Cayman Islands for work for a month, the first morning that I woke up, I turned on the TV. There was ESPN. I figured I was going to get SportsCenter. And the next thing I know, I got a cricket match. So I figured, okay, this is cool. I'm willing to do something different. I'm flexible here. And I watched that cricket match, and I watched more cricket over the next few days, and I still can't tell you what the heck that game is about. So any of you fans can tell me what I know it's not on subject. I know we're getting away from our usual football talk, but I really want to know how the hell you play that game.
It seems like baseball, but you can hit it in foul territory.
You hit something in foul territory and they're running. I'm like, that's foul ball. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Right. It just does. I don't get it.
I'm not the one to explain it to you. So let's talk some Kyler Murray.
Let's talk Kyler Murray.
So let's get to the news part. We're stressing news here on today's show, maybe. Tom Pelissaro's tweet. The Cardinals have yet to make a contract offer to Pro Bowl quarterback Kyler Murray. And then he also adds his agent, Kyler Murray's agent, informed the team weeks ago he was pulling his opening proposal off the table. Other teams are closely monitoring. Arizona insists Murray will not be traded. And I think maybe partially why teams don't believe that last part is Arizona years ago when they drafted Kyler Murray said they weren't going to draft Kyler Murray. They said they were going to stay with Josh Rosen.
We got Josh Rosen.
Right. And that didn't happen. They went with Kyler Murray. So, I guess kind of the boy who cried wolf thing there. What do you make of this? If you're the Falcons, is there anything to this? Do you think Kyler Murray could be on the move? So he's due to make, I believe, $5.5 million this year. And I believe he and his agent have said they're not playing on that contract. And based on what quarterbacks are paid, obviously that's well under what he's worth. But that's why this is such big news that, not getting a contract could mean Murray not arriving to training camp on time. So, how much of a molehill should we make of this? I guess like my first question to you, Tom. How big of a deal is this from Arizona's perspective? How big of a deal is this?
Right now, I don't know if it's as big a deal as everybody's making it out to be. As I say, right now, we're still waiting for the draft. We got 2 weeks before the draft, and I think this one kind of erupted out of nowhere, and it's gained everybody's attention because, we had all that quarterback, well, you put it better. It's not a merry-go-round, it's quarterback musical chairs. And
yeah.
And that's kind of gone away as the quarterbacks have settled down. But, Kyler Murray's kind of tried to downplay this too, where he's saying, we're not at that point where I'm going to be requesting a trade or, I don't plan. He's not making any waves right now. The waves seem to be coming from outside the organization. Both sides seem to want to try and keep it quiet and do what they need to do. But I do think it's a big deal because I'm wondering what you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Once this thing comes out, it's tough to do, and I think we're going to be hearing more about it in the next couple of weeks. And sure, there's speculation about him to the Falcons because the Falcons made that try for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Mike Florio mentioned that the teams that didn't get Deshaun Watson should probably be probably the most obvious to be in the hunt for Kyler Murray.
Right.
So, and right now, I don't see that I disagree with them. I think, that's kind of where you would start with the Kyler Murray bandwagon and move on from there.
Yeah. So I guess it's kind of been building a little bit with Murray. Earlier this offseason, I believe I'm getting this right, he scrubbed his social media of all Arizona Cardinals stuff, and other players have done that. And, that seems to be a new thing too, that media really following these players on social media, and any little thing that they do that becomes news. And maybe that's something, maybe it's not. I think Russell Wilson might have done the same thing. I'm not.
A lot of guys do that now.
Yeah. Well, then Russell Wilson got traded though. So I guess the interesting thing that I would react to what you said with we got the draft coming up. If you're the Cardinals, wouldn't you want and a deal is going to be done, like a trade, wouldn't you want to do that during draft week before teams land a new franchise quarterback? Because
I would say so. Definitely.
I know that this isn't a strong quarterback class, but somebody is going to draft Malik Willis. Somebody's going to draft Kenny Pickett, and they're going to believe that that quarterback is their future. And if that's the Falcons. Let's say that's the Falcons. Let's say they draft Malik Willis at number 8. Then they're out of the hunt for Murray, and that's one less suitor the Cardinals have to drive up the price for Kyle Murray on the trademark. So,
and that's the key.
So I yes, we want to see this continue to develop, but I think this could develop quickly. I think we could see a contract for Murray in the next 2 weeks before the draft, or on the move for that reason. Because, again, I'll use a Falcons example. Wouldn't have the Falcons, looking back, rather have traded Julio Jones before the draft last year and got a draft pick last year and had a player already on their team? Yeah, it's great they have that second round pick this year, but, you trade Kyler Murray in June, there's going to be less suitors. Maybe the price is lower, and you're getting draft picks for next year and not helping your team.
Right. You're not helping your team now.
Yeah.
So, I would say yes. I think we're going to probably see movements on this in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Definitely. And let's look at it this way. And we've been getting a lot of comments fans being adamant about no to Murray. But let's look at Kyler Murray and what he's done over the past couple of years with the Cardinals as their starting quarterback. He's had some great games. Last year, the first half of the season, he really had that team rolling. But they were all healthy.
Well, this will be an interesting discussion because we don't normally disagree. And I think you are much higher on Kyler Murray than me.
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay. All right.
Not necessarily.
Okay. That's what I was assuming. I think that's a great idea to take a look back at what he's done. I'll let you dive into that in a second. I just want to comment on, I was looking on the Falcoholic this morning, and I believe I'm looking for the headline now. It was not the headline, the subhead. The headline: Falcons obvious trade candidate to trade for quarterback Kyler Murray. That headline.
I saw that too. Yeah.
That headline from Evan Birchfield. He does a good job at the Falcoholic. And the subhead was: Could the Falcons take a swing at another top 10 quarterback? My reaction: Kyler Murray not a top 10 quarterback.
I don't think so either.
Okay.
If you look at Kyler's record, he's been great in the first half of seasons. Not as great in the second half. He doesn't seem to be able to sustain that kind of play, that high level of play through an entire season.
And that's why he's not getting a contract right now.
Right.
I would think. I would think that's why.
Yeah, so do I. Because I think Kyler Murray does have a high opinion of where he is among NFL quarterbacks. I don't think he's shown that yet. I think he's shown that as far as being able to get the Cardinals off to fast starts. But you also have to look at the fact that he's got a couple of nice receivers. He's had some outstanding receivers to work with there. And now I'm always go by the thinking that a quarterback makes the receiver, except for the case of DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
He has been a rough week. Except for DeAndre Hopkins, where I think DeAndre Hopkins makes a quarterback look better than maybe he is. Maybe it's one receiver in the league who actually makes the quarterback look good instead of the quarterback making him. Because you can get away with a lot of stuff with DeAndre Hopkins going after the ball. As long as you got it in the same zip code as DeAndre Hopkins, you've got a good chance of getting a reception. So
the Hail Murray. Yeah,
the Hail Murray pass, right? That Thanksgiving Day game. But if you look at Murray, as I said, solid over 100 passer rating early in the season. Falls apart later in the season. Now, I know Hopkins missed a lot of time last year. Murray missed 3 games. He was injured. Came back to beat the Chicago Bears, which, is not a great accomplishment for any NFL quarterback last year. And then, they lost 4 out of the last 5 and got bounced in their first playoff game. So that's the big problem is which Murray are you going to get? Are you getting the first one? The one who, I'm looking at his stats right now, through the first half of the season, through eight games, he had 7 of them over a 100 passer rating, and the only one that was under was 93. So that was pretty damn good. And then his final 5 games, where he only had 1 game that was over 100 passer rating, everything else was below average. So who are you getting here? He has yet to show that he can finish a season.
Right.
And that's the problem.
Well, I 100% agree. So we are agreeing on this. I would add, that he was injured last year, but that is the problem, that he hasn't been able to show he can remain healthy for a full now 17-game season.
Yes.
And I think that added up to him in that playoff game. That was honestly maybe his worst NFL game of his career. And maybe his critics are pointing to that and saying, well, that I don't want that quarterback, and making too much of a deal of one bad night. But at the same time, he did not play well at all in the second half of last year. To add to your stats, I mean, he had only 7 touchdown passes in the final 6 games last year, averaged 6.7 yards per pass in the final 6 games. In the first 8 games, he was averaging 8.9 yards per pass. So
yeah,
it was Millie. Did you hear that new dog? I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, Zozo hasn't made an appearance yet. Wait, she'll come up too. We get our pets involved in this show too. Anybody who's new to the show.
Right. Yeah. And we got a lot of pets between the two of us.
Yeah.
We got like a baseball team of pets. So I'm not a believer in Kyle Murray overall. Could you do a lot worse as a quarterback? Sure. I think he's better than Marcus Mariota. We got some comments coming in that are saying, we got Mariota. We're not going to, go in on Kyler Murray. Well, Kyler Murray's a big upgrade from Marcus Mariota.
Yes.
But do I think
believe what you've seen about Marcus Mariota for his first few years? Once you get to this point in your career, believe what you've seen out of a quarterback. It's not getting any better. Rarely does it get any better.
Yes,
I'm not
right.
saying it doesn't, but
But do I think Kyler Murray's a $45 million a year quarterback? No,
not right now.
no.
No way. Not unless he can show me something, this following season. Now, if he can start strong and sustain next year, but by next year, he doesn't want to be there. Now he's not saying that yet, but that seems to be the trending opinion is that he doesn't want to be there, and the Cardinals are kind of saying, well, we're not giving you all the extra money yet. You still have to show us something.
Let's get to some of our comments. Pantero says he's not in on Murray. Same reason that I'm saying he's not worth the $45 million a year. That's what Patrick Mahomes gets paid. Aaron Rodgers is at $50 million. What is Deshaun Watson's at $45 million a year too, I believe.
Yeah.
So
except for next year, which is $1 million.
Keith is the one that said we got Mariota. I mean, I don't think that's going to stop the Falcons from drafting a quarterback if they want or trading for Kyler Murray. Mariota is a stopgap, absolute definition of a stopgap quarterback.
He's a bridge quarterback. He's the guy who's going to kind of fill in right now until you find your quarterback of the future.
Larry Orange is no on Murray. Wants to draft Jermaine Johnson. We're going to talk about Jermaine Johnson a little bit. He's a guy that is going to the Falcons in some mock drafts. Isaac also passing on Murray. We need trench help ASAP. Agree, Isaac.
Agree.
I'm a little surprised. I thought that our listeners or just Falcons fans in general would be more in on getting the big name quarterback, and that is not the case. They are in agreement with us for the most part that Kyler Murray is not worth the big contract that I guess they're siding with the Cardinals.
Well, he's not worth the draft capital you're going to have to give up for him too.
Right. We haven't hit upon that either. I mean, it's not going to cost Deshaun Watson draft capital, but it's the same type of issue that the Falcons need all the draft picks they can get to fix all of the holes on their roster. And giving that up for a quarterback that hasn't shown can win a playoff game yet is not really the best, would be the best strategy.
Well, as I say, he hasn't shown that he can play down the stretch.
Yeah. Right. Right. I mean, they were a playoff team early in 2020 and then collapsed to not make the playoffs. So, I mean, and then in his first playoff appearance after collapsing in the regular season last year, just an awful playoff performance against the eventual Super Bowl champions, but
against a team that they had played well against and beat in the regular season.
Right. Yeah, and Kyler Murray played awful. There's just no way around that.
No, he was terrible.
Bad.
He was awful in that game. So no two ways about it.
MJ Cliff wants us to mention the Hawks win last night, and it was a nice win. I saw
did the Blackhawks win last night? Oh, he's talking about the Hawks, the Atlanta Hawks. Okay. I know. Come on, Dave. Give me a break.
The Blackhawks.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was a really nice win for the Atlanta Hawks last night. So they're playing Miami tomorrow, and I'm not a huge NBA guy. I would like to get back into it. I've been saying that for like 4 years that I'm going to get back into the NBA. At some point, it's probably going to happen, and maybe it'll be tomorrow. Maybe I'll watch the Falcons, the Hawks game tomorrow. Got my birds mixed up.
Yeah. So, I haven't watched much NBA ball this year. I really can't comment intelligently, but when has that ever stopped me? So I can't give you a solid opinion on it. I do think the Hawks, they went deep into the playoffs last year, so I would not be surprised if they did the same thing this year. And good victory against the Cleveland Cavaliers last night. So,
well, I can show off my lack of NBA knowledge and say that and with this question, was this the first year they did the play-in round thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
All right. So the Hawks were what? They were the 10 seed in this play-in thing?
Yeah, I think so. Now they get to play the Miami Heat. So
they won 2 games to get to this point. They had to win 2 elimination games.
you know something, I don't ask me, because as I say, I've had a rough week as far as work goes.
MJ,
and everybody here in Chicago are talking about the Bulls playing the Milwaukee Bucks.
okay. Well, MJ, if you're still with us, answer my question if you can. Millie, what's the matter? Okay. This is the newest addition to our family. Millie.
Okay.
I'm live on air. So yeah, MJ, if you can answer what the Hawks had to do to get to this point, and Miami's number 1 seed, so they're playing the 1 seed now.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's
Cool.
pretty much it.
Yeah, we'll try and update the Hawks as we go here in the playoff run. Hopefully, it's a deep run again.
Yeah. We'll
we'll
pay
mention
more attention to the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah.
Of course, we cover the Atlanta Hawks in a lot of shows on this.
Yeah,
this
right.
channel.
So, I mean, we lack the NBA knowledge that you might want with the Hawks, but Birds and Buckets is another show on our channel.
Yes.
Check out Atlanta Sports Unlimited. Subscribe on YouTube. Like us on Facebook, and there's content for all the Georgia sports, including the Atlanta Hawks. If you want that, MJ.
Yeah, the experts are there. If you want them, just go on to Atlanta Sports Unlimited and let's get it. Larry Orange.
There we go. Larry is answering my question. And the problem I have with the NBA right now, and maybe somebody can help me with this too, is I subscribe to the baseball package, so I get the baseball games. I subscribe to I used to subscribe to the NHL package, but that went away, and now they're on ESPN Plus. I got ESPN Plus, so I got all the hockey games. And in football, I got the Sunday ticket. I have Paramount Plus for live games on CBS to watch the Atlanta Falcons. I have signed into my parents' cable account to Extreme Fox. But NBA, it's on TNT. It's on, right? I think it's on TNT.
Yeah, TNT.
Mostly, I guess, and ESPN. So I could use it. In order to get that, I have to use somebody else's cable account. So it's just not as easily accessible to somebody who's cut the cord. Just completely trying not to pay the cable company at this point.
Yeah, well, I'm scraping by right now, so I don't get any of that. So I got to read to catch up with what I have. And there's only a certain amount of time to read. And most of what I read is NFL. So that's why I just haven't been keeping up with it. And as I say, I know the Bulls are going into a series against the Milwaukee Bucks where I do not give the Bulls much chance to come out of that series.
Yeah.
But that's about all I could say.
Well, let's pivot back to football. And, we've come to a consensus, I think, that the Falcons should not go after Kyler Murray. A consensus among our fans and our listeners and us. So it'll be interesting to see if anything comes of that. I think a lot of us said they shouldn't have gone after Deshaun Watson, and they obviously did. So we'll see what I would say.
Well, the problem with Deshaun Watson is they went into Watson went into his free agency, and it was like the Falcons weren't even mentioned. Then all of a sudden the Falcons were finalists. I think Arthur Blank basically stepped in and had a lot to do with Deshaun Watson, and basically, kind of spoiled the water for Matt Ryan staying around, because after that, it was just impossible for Ryan to actually want to stay. But
I was just about to say it'll be interesting to see what Terry Fontenot will want to do, but it's really not Fontenot. It's going to be, will Arthur Blank step in and say, go try and get Kyle Murray? That'll be what determines it.
Because one of the main problems you also have is, and I think one of the reasons why Block has gotten involved in all this is, the Falcons are worried about putting fans in the stands. And I think that's one of the reasons why Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith won't say the R word, rebuild.
Yeah.
Because they want to put fans in the stands. They don't want to see Mercedes-Benz Stadium half full. And I think that's essentially why, you had the play for Deshaun Watson. At least you're trying to generate some excitement for the year. And that's why I wouldn't say that the Falcons wouldn't make a run for Kyler Murray, because Arthur Blank he's getting involved in the football operations, which I think is a huge mistake.
Right.
And I think it's cost the Falcons more than it's helped them.
Yeah.
He got involved in the Ryan contract. He got involved in the Jones contract. Those weren't Dimitrov's, problems. Dimitrov didn't draft well, but it was Black who got involved in the football decisions and made life difficult for Dimitrov, and has made life difficult for the Falcons now, because that's why you have so much dead cap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, other than actually putting a winning football team on the field, the fact that Arthur Blank wants fans in the seats might actually lead to him making a run for Kyler Murray if he becomes available, if the Arizona Cardinals do finally say that, yes, he's available, make your offers.
Well, what I would say back to that, what will bring people to the stadium is winning. And, this team's not going to do much winning in 2022, but you don't trade for Kyler Murray. You stock up on draft picks this year and next year. You go into next year with a lot more salary cap space. All that dead cap is gone. And all of a sudden you're afraid to say rebuild. All of a sudden the rebuild you don't want to admit you're doing is done after
right.
You're ready to compete again. This isn't baseball where rebuild takes 4 or 5 years.
But I agree with you, Dave. But Arthur Blank, Blank is a wild card in the situation.
Absolutely, I agree with you. He absolutely is a wild card. And as I said, we're all in agreement that going for Kyler Murray is not a good idea for the Falcons. But if Arthur Blank wants to do it, it doesn't matter if Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot both believe it's a bad idea. They will have to do it. They will try and
it'll happen.
Yeah.
But as I say, you spend a draft capital that you're going to need to rebuild this team.
Maybe what will happen is they'll try and trade for Kyler Murray, not get him. He'll get traded somewhere else. And then Marcus Mariota is going to be like, I want to be traded.
I want to be traded. God, you're insulting me. I want to be, my God. You brought me in here to play quarterback. Now you don't want me to play quarterback? Trade me. I demand it. So, watch out for Marcus Mariota here.
Yep, that's my bold prediction. Marcus Mariota demanding a trade. Okay.
But see, I agree with you, Dave, because you could have this team rebuilt in no time. You really could. You got a lot of trade capital. You can go in and you can do a solid rebuild just this year to show that you're ready to start competing at a higher level in 2023. So, don't screw that up. Don't screw up your cap situation. Don't screw up your draft situation just because you want a flashy quarterback to put fans in the seats.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk some mock drafts here in the final 15 minutes or so of the show. We've talked about this off air, I think mostly not necessarily on air, but I think let's see. The Sporting News has, if you're a huge fan of mock drafts, the Sporting News has like mock drafts of mock drafts. So like what I mean by that is they have an article where they compare like 4 or 5 experts and their most recent mock drafts. So in this most recent mock draft and mock drafts from Sporting News, Vinny Eilers, who's also from the Sporting News, has slotted Travon Walker, the edge rusher from Georgia, to the Falcons at number 8. I think he'd be a great pick, depending on how the first 7 picks break down. But you keep scrolling here, and Mel Kiper has a wide receiver, Garrett Wilson, going to the Falcons at number 8. His colleague at ESPN, got to do a lot of scrolling here, Todd McShay has Drake London going to the Falcons, wide receiver from USC. Daniel Jeremiah, his mock draft is almost a month old now, but he's got Garrett Wilson as well, the wide receiver from Ohio State, going to the Falcons at number 8. And then the there's 2 more here. Also Garrett Wilson from Charles Davis, the NFL Network analyst and Fox Sports announcer for NFL games, has the wide receiver going to the Falcons at number 8. And the Athletics, Dane Bergler, has quarterback Malik Willis going to the Falcons.
Wow.
At number 8. So Willis is interesting, and let's table that for a second and just focus on, defender versus edge rusher. The way I look at this in my non-expert NFL draft opinion, there are, this is what I do for fantasy football. I identify, if I see I'm drafting 8th. So I identify the 8 players that I want. And then I am guaranteed one of those players will be there for me at number 8. If one guy doesn't get picked, like if one guy of not the 8 gets picked instead, then 2 guys are going to be available for me, and I have my choice. And the 8 guys that I have, I've got 6 or 7, and then I'm in between on who the 8th person should be. But those 8 prospects that I'm narrowing it down to for the Falcons are Aiden Hutchinson, Travon Walker, Kayvon Thibodeau, Jermaine Johnson, the offensive tackle for NC State, not going to try and pronounce his name, Evan Neal, and those are the top 6 for me for the Falcons. Not necessarily the best 6 players, but the best 6 players for the Falcons. And then the next 3, I'll say Jordan Davis, Kyle Hamilton, Nakobe Dean. And I'm in between on, whether Nakobe Dean or Kyle Hamilton is that 8th guy that I would have in like my top 8. So no wide receivers. I don't have a quarterback in there. So to see like a majority of mock draft
or should
experts, yeah, well, to see a majority of mock draft experts say the Falcons are taking wide receiver, this is not an argument to say that wide receiver isn't a need for the Falcons. It absolutely is. But to take that at number 8 after all of the other needs, or before all of the other needs that the Falcons have on defense and on offensive line, man, I just cannot see that happening. I really can't.
These are guys who are not looking at the situation in Atlanta, not understanding the team, not understanding what you need to do in a draft room. All right. And yeah, Mel Kiper, I'm saying that to you too. Because Mel Kiper will throw about 500 mock drafts out there. And then, when a player gets selected, oh, yeah, I had him at this spot. Well, okay, what mock draft did you have him at that spot? He'll have every player at every spot in the mock draft.
Right.
Just so he could say that he had that
everybody does that now.
Yeah.
That's not just Mel Kiper. I mean, I don't know if he still is the Matthew Tabik. I don't know if he still is the managing editor of AtlantaFalcons.com. But a few years ago when we were on SI Maven and I was looking at every single, I'm not exaggerating. He had 10 mock drafts.
Yes.
And every single mock draft, he had the Falcons taking a different player.
Yes.
And remember, Falcons.com is owned by the Falcons. So I guess, he doesn't want to be the guy that be interviewing the first round pick the Falcons make and that player know, well, you didn't have him slotted to me or you didn't think I was a good pick. I think that's probably why that he's got all his bases covered. Well, I had you going to the Falcons in one of my 10 mock drafts, but yeah, they all do that now. And it is a little crazy. But I guess my question is with these mock drafts, I mean, are you just picking them based on needs? Or do you have any insight over, like, have you talked to Terry Fontenot or Arthur Blank or Arthur Smith, and have they given you an indication that the Falcons are going to take wide receiver? Is that why it seems like if there is any consensus in mock drafts, the wide receiver is a target for the Falcons at number 8? Is that because they're getting tea leaves from the organization that's what they're looking at? Or is that just everyone latching on to a very obvious need?
I sincerely doubt it. I think it's everyone latching onto a very obvious need. However, you're latching onto the wrong need.
Yeah.
And that's where everybody's going wrong here. You're latching onto the wrong need. you can get wide receivers later in the draft, and the Falcons are going to get a chance to draft receivers that are going to beat out Zacchaeus as the number one on the squad. I mean, I think Zacchaeus is number one on the depth chart right now. But you're gonna get a chance to get your receivers. My problem is there are no Jamar Chases in the field this year. You don't have a guy who I'm going to take him, with my top 10 draft pick, and I'm going to get somebody who's going to have an impact on the game. Okay, that guy is not out there right now. You got a lot of depth at receiver, but you don't have that impact guy. And if you're picking 8, as I always said, as people who watch this show regularly, that what I believe is if you're not getting an impact guy, if you're not getting a Pro Bowl caliber player in the top 10, then you failed. And that is not there at receiver. It's there at edge rusher, which it wasn't there last year. It is there at edge rusher.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really deep class at edge rusher. I mean, you could get a franchise edge rusher at number 8, and that isn't always available to you at number 8.
That's why you grab it now.
Yeah.
Fix this pathetic pass rush. This pass rush that you've got nothing on the defensive line. You've had nothing on the defensive line for the last 3 seasons, and you've got to do something about it now. Make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, their pass rush it's been pathetic for years, and I don't think it's a coincidence that the Falcons stopped going to the playoffs when they stopped putting pressure on the quarterback in 2018. That's when the drop-off started. In 2019, it just plummeted. They had 7 sacks in the first 8 games in 2019.
You're right. I remember that. That was our big storyline, is that they weren't getting to the quarterback at all.
Right. And I mean, it really hasn't gotten much better in 2020 and 2021. I think they were a little better in the overall sack totals in 2020, but last year they kind of went back down to nothing. I mean, Devontae Fowler acquisition was a disaster, didn't work out at all. Got nothing. And
I say, in the preseason, when you find all the media, all your Atlanta media talking about Steve Means at defensive end, you got a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, you got a real problem. So, with Mad Mike last week, I really ought to catch that show, Dave. Because Mad Mike let me say a couple of things on here that you usually don't let me say. So, as far as language, but
what did I let you say?
You won't let me swear. You won't let me say bad words.
Really? Is that a rule of mine?
I don't know. It seemed like it to me.
Oh, so you went all crazy when I wasn't here?
No, I just picked up on something Mad Mike said on his own show, and said I told him, I said Dave would never let me say that on this show.
Well, so you got to say it now.
Oh yeah, I told Mad Mike, I said Dave would never let me say ass crack on this show. And yeah, I cracked Mad Mike up. I had him laughing on that one. So he's like, oh man. Because I had watched a few of his shows before I had him on. So, I'm like, holy cow. So I knew I had to give him heck for that one. But his favorite for first pick, and I agree with him, is Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah.
I like him as the Falcons pick.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to bring back up, Larry Orange, just give him a shout out because he likes Jermaine Johnson as well. And that is who I believe Kevin Knight, another shout out to the Falcoholic. Kevin Knight does a really great job over there and is a great resource for draft news for the Falcons. Yeah. And he has them taking Jermaine Johnson in his latest mock draft. I don't think he has a mock draft for the whole first round. He did the first 8 picks in his latest article, showed what would happen before the Falcons pick in the first 7 selections, and then had Jermaine Johnson to the Falcons at number 8. I think that would be an excellent pick. He's one of the top 4
Right.
edge rushers in this class. He's one of the more safer edge rush picks. If you want to have somebody that has like a high upside, you go with the Oregon prospect. Hutchinson is the top pick that is not going to fall to 8.
He's not getting to 8.
So
he's not getting past the Lions. If the Jaguars don't take him, the Lions will.
Right. So as far as edge goes, I mean, Hutchinson will be gone, and it'll be between Walker, the Oregon prospect, and Johnson. So now
I know a lot of Falcons fans are probably going to say, "Hey, let's bring in Trayvon Walker." University of Georgia product. We don't draft enough Georgia players, which always seems to be a regular plot line with Falcons fans. Well, here you go. You got a Georgia player who wouldn't be a stretch at number 8 if you did take him. I don't think he's the right pick. I think Jermaine Johnson's the right pick. But Trayvon Walker could actually be the man who comes to Atlanta at number 8.
I think he'd be a good pick too. I would choose Johnson first, but Johnson could go in the top 7. And if then I think Walker would be an excellent choice too. And if all 4 of those edge rushers are gone, I mean, I would love for them to solve that long time problem pressuring the quarterback. But you have 2 really good, or even maybe really great offensive tackles in this class, and one of them might be available if it's a heavy edge rushing top 7.
Yeah. I mean, you do have a lot of options there. So it's rough. I still say you got to go with edge rusher. The Falcons are going to have a strong secondary this year. I think they're still a little suspect at safety, but they got 2 very good corners now.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying that the offensive tackle should be taken before edge. I'm just saying if the top 4 edge rushers are gone.
Well, if they're gone, yeah.
You don't have to reach for the 5th best edge rusher, or you don't have to draft a wide receiver. You could draft a very good offensive tackle.
Right. You can get a right tackle.
That's a need, a big need.
Right. And don't pick up McGarry's option and plug in a new tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be a great way to go if those edge rushers are gone.
Mm-hmm.
But, with the secondary you're going to have next year, you have to put pressure on the quarterback at some time, because no matter how good your corners are, no matter how good a coverage your safeties get, at some point somebody's going to break 3.
Yeah.
And a good quarterback is going to take advantage of that. So, if you give the quarterback time in the pocket, he's going to find someone. You cannot keep a receiver covered for 4 or 5 seconds. It's not going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
So you've got to get that edge rusher. That's going to make the most impact. I think one's going to be available. I think Johnson and Walker are going to be available to the Falcons. But
that would be my guess. Yeah. I think one of them will be available, and that should be the pick.
Right.
But if
the other problem is, and one of the things that we don't normally see is, except for the Carolina Panthers, everybody at the top of the draft pretty much has their quarterback situation solved, or thinks they have their quarterback situation under control.
Yeah.
So, and that's why this is such a wild card draft. Why it's going to be tough to project, because normally you can project about, in the first 5 picks, you can project a couple of quarterbacks. Well, that's not the case this year, because they have quarterbacks that they're committed to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to make for an interesting set as we head into Thursday night, because I'm going to be interested to see, how this first round shakes out, considering that it's not going to be a quarterback draft.
There still will be plenty of quarterback discussion, though. Where does Willis and Pickett go? I think Carolina is going to do something at quarterback, and
they have to.
They're picking number 6.
Oh God, they have to.
And then it'll be interesting because it's not out of the realm of possibility the Falcons could take a quarterback. That's been in some mock drafts, and then Seattle is right after Atlanta at number 9. Do they look at a quarterback? And then, of course, the popular destinations for quarterbacks this offseason, the Saints, Eagles, Steelers are picking in the teens, and then Steelers at 20. But there are some other possibilities in the top 10 for quarterbacks too.
The Eagles have set themselves to draft a quarterback next year if Jalen Hurts doesn't make it.
Right.
With the trade they made with the draft picks with New Orleans, that was a genius move by Howie Roseman, or Rossman, doing that draft with Philadelphia, with New Orleans, because now he can still get an impact player at the top of the draft. He can still build depth through the rest of the draft, and if Jalen Hurts does bust, he's got a high pick next year to go ahead and get that quarterback in a much better quarterback class.
That's true. Much better quarterback class. Yeah.
So, that was a heck of a move by Philadelphia. They made the big trade. They probably made the best trade so far early, as far as, for draft picks and setting themselves up in the draft.
So it'll be an interesting 2 weeks. More mock drafts, I'm sure, will be coming out, and I do want to check them out at this point. So it is interesting just to.
I keep reading mock drafts and I keep laughing.
I do like to see, so there is definitely a level of changing up your mock drafts because you want to have the most possibility of being right, but there's also the element of players rise and fall as the draft process goes. It seems like maybe Malik Willis is rising a little bit. I mean, have you seen anything with them perhaps going to Detroit? I thought I saw that, but then I looked at mock drafts this morning and I couldn't really find anything concrete.
I think I saw one mock draft where they were talking Malik Willis.
Okay.
I don't remember who. But I did see one. I would think that would be a mistake. And I'm not saying Malik Willis won't be a good quarterback in the NFL, but you've only seen him at the combine and at the pro day. Now, he looked damn good at both. He was throwing dimes. He was throwing a great deep ball, nice soft deep ball. He looked fantastic at both the combine and his pro day. The problem is his college competition was not very good.
Right.
He played for Liberty.
Yeah.
And, I question, and you can look good in the combine and pro day, but when you got a few hundred pounds of defensive linemen chasing after you, that tends to change the game a little bit as far as how you look as a quarterback. So, right. I don't think we have a good handle on how he's going to do once he gets behind center with a pro team. It's going to be interesting. And that's the same uncertainty with Kenny Pickett. That's why you just have nobody you can project as a top quarterback. I don't think the Lions are going to go there. They'll take Hutchinson if they can. I think they'll take one of the offensive tackles if they can't.
I think that's the much more likely scenario too. But it would throw a whole wrench in this draft if Willis
really would
too, and that would certainly be interesting.
Well, what you get is some teams tend to start panicking when position groups start going off the board. So let's say a couple of the edge rushers go off the board early. Then you might start seeing teams panicking and saying, well, we got to get one of those edge rushers before they're gone. And
there's a lot of edge rushers, though. A lot of edge rushers in this draft.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see, because you got the psychology of how the draft works, too. It's not just a what do we need, best player on the board type thing. You got general managers who can start panicking, can start looking at different options, and all of a sudden they see a position group going. Maybe they see a couple of top wide receivers going. They're like, I got to get a wide receiver before we get deeper into this draft, or else I'm going to miss. And, you get a lot of that stuff on the draft. Draft is a fascinating animal, and it really is.
Well, we got one episode left before the NFL draft, so we will spend a lot of our time next week breaking down where the Falcons could go, building off of the conversation today. Thanks for tuning in today. Thanks for your patience as we started late today. But we'll be back next Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern time.
Have a great week, everyone.